So hello and welcome to the Turn 5 podcast. We're very wet, windswept and lovely Beckett's Grandstand, where we will be based for Grand Prix Sunday. As always, I'll join you again on Monday for the recording. We've just went green for FIA Formula 3, so I'm going to go back to watch Max. It's about to get very noisy here in a minute, but catch you soon. So hello and welcome back to a now very sunny Silverstone circuit. We're at the entrance to the Maggots S's. Best grandstand at the track. Just putting that out there. I'll mention it again tomorrow. But if you're coming to Silverstone and you're wanting a good place to sit, Beckett's grandstand is the place to be. But what a race. Lewis Hamilton, first win since Saudi Arabia 2021. Absolutely roared on by the British crowd. Probably should have been a 1-2 had Mercedes not messed up a little bit with George's pit stop for the intermediates, and then obviously the water cooling issue meant he had to retire anyway. Lando, well, it all went wrong. Soft tyres proved to be the wrong decision. The hards just much faster. You had Max closing in, but not enough time to catch him. And yeah, that's about as much as I can think of off the top of my head. But of course, we'll go into more detail about everything tomorrow night. But until then, I'll see you in the recording. So hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Turn 5 podcast. I'm back at home with good old shaky cam. After another, well, pretty enjoyable British Grand Prix weekend, to say the least.
I think that depends on which flags you fly, but...
That's true. But in terms of the overall weekend, it doesn't change the fact. Yeah. I think no matter who you support, you could be a Logan Sargent fan and still have had a good weekend.
Yeah, I think all biases aside, you can easily say that that's been the best race this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had a bit of everything, didn't it?
Yeah.
It goes to... We've talked about this before. Changeable conditions make good races.
Yeah.
Unless you're the Ferrari and Red Bull strategy teams. I was shocked to see the Red Bull strategy team in this list this week, but what were they thinking putting Perez and Leclerc on inters on, what was it, lap 17?
It's Perez. He's at the back. He's the test driver. He's not in the points. He's pretty much out of the running for the championship. They don't give a shit about him. Use him to get the data for Max. They knew it was too early. They didn't bring Max in. It worked. If it had worked for Perez, they would then immediately bring Max in, and Max would then get the jump on the rest of the front of the field. Team strategy. Red Bull went, we can afford to cost you 3 places at the back of the bottom field, because you're not scoring any points anyway.
And then Charles Leclerc.
Is Ferrari.
Yeah. I remember just being in shock when I seen that green dot appear on the big screen. But that's jumping the gun a bit. We need to slow down.
Settle down.
Exactly. We'll come to the race.
I mean, in fairness, you say like the Red Bull strategy team, what were they doing? But at the end of the race, they made the right call with Max again. So
yeah, true.
But again, we'll get onto that.
Yeah, exactly. I was more just thinking of Perez. The boy finished 2 laps down. 2.
Oh, it's when it was it's like every single lap they were just lapping Perez. It was so funny.
Anyway, yes, free practice actually led to the first red flag of the weekend, which was surprising because we'd had Formula 3 and Formula 2 on track before Formula 1, and Formula 1 caused the first red flag.
Well done to the juniors this time.
Who was it went off in
until
FP1?
the F3 race came in?
Oh, we'll come to that. We will come to that. Which one are you talking about? The sprint on Saturday morning?
The
Well,
feature.
feature Safety Car City, yeah. And I say Saturday morning for the sprint. It was
Very
actually
safe
Saturday night.
rejoins.
Who was it went off in free practice one? Caused the red
I
flag.
don't know. I know Gasly went off at free practice 3.
Yeah, Gasly went off in free practice. Was it Sonoda?
I can't remember.
Yes, Sonoda went off at some point.
Yeah, part of me wants to say it was Yuki. I can't remember what corner.
So he went off Luffield.
Mm,
I think that's right.
yes,
The big right-hander.
because I was sitting in Wellington for it. I remember that actually. Yeah, pro tip for anyone wanting to go to Silverstone: don't buy tickets in Wellington. Just don't.
Don't buy tickets.
No, buy tickets, just not in Wellington.
And as Chris learnt this week, even if you're in a covered grandstand, still take anti-weather precautions.
But yeah, definitely the worst view I've sat in. I've been to almost all of the grandstands at this point because you can go wherever you like on Friday and Saturday. So the last couple of years, I've just been going round. This year, however, I got my seat in Club Corner and was like, I am not leaving. That rain is horrendous.
That's
But
fair.
on the Friday, I bought the Wellington enclosure upgrade. Nice purple wristband for that one. And
How much was
yeah,
it added on?
£50.
So this year it only costs £650.
Next year we'll add a 1 to the front of that. And...
It was £50 upgrade fee for the Wellington enclosure.
Jesus.
When in Rome.
The only reason I went for Wellington was because it's on the inner track, and so you got inner track for free. Which, had the weather been better, would have went and wandered around like the classic cars paddock because it's open to anybody. A sobering fact that I found out: I didn't make it to the classic cars paddock, but the RP19 is there. Racing Point's 2019 car. It's in the classic car paddock.
Yeah, I seen that earlier.
What the fuck?
It's only 5 years old.
Exactly.
My car's older than that. Mine's not a fucking classic.
Yeah. Classic cars.
Jesus.
RP19. Although what they did bring to this year, I think it was the 2007 McLaren. And Ben, you'll enjoy this. Jenson Button's Williams. And the sound of those cars, amazing. You could hear them regardless of where they were in the circuit.
It's quite annoying because last year Jensen drove Nigel Mansell's 92 Williams. And this year he's in his 2000.
His own Williams.
And I want to go, but I know when I go, Jensen won't be driving anything. And it just make me cry.
He only drove the Williams on the Friday. I don't remember seeing it on the Saturday or the Sunday.
Yeah, it was.
I think it was only the Friday.
I know it's like 5:10 or something. After free practice 2.
Yeah, it was after FP2.
Yeah,
because he was one of few cars to go out on track with the wets.
Yeah.
Because the majority of the classic cars didn't have wet tires with them.
It is one little thing that annoys me when they do like the historic cars is the fact they put on like the new Pirelli tires and whatever.
No, they weren't actually. They were running older tires.
Sometimes you can get them on age-appropriate tires. It just depends.
I want the old Michelin's back, you know? Give us the Bridgestones.
Yeah, I don't think all of them were on the Pirellis.
No, I know, probably not all of them, but I just know Jensen's Williams was.
But I find it funny, of all the cars that we didn't see in the wet, we didn't see the Racing Point at any point in the weekend. It never made it on track. There was a
Nice.
classic McLaren done up in the new livery, but I don't
Ye-
remember seeing.
That's another annoying thing. It's when they get old F1 cars from like 2013 and whatever and put the new livery on it.
Yeah. But I don't remember seeing the Racing Point on the track at all. But yeah, so free practice 1 was pretty much, well, free practice
It's
1.
practice.
Yeah. Free practice 2, we started to see the start of the conditions for the weekend. The rain came in. A few people going out on inters to do practice starts, which was probably a good idea because at that point the forecast was for thunderstorms just before the race. So we would have had a wet start. That didn't come to fruition, but that is what we were expecting at that stage in the weekend, at least.
Yeah.
And it was good to see practice starts on the wet tyre. You don't see it a lot. A lot of the time they just will, oh well, it started raining, session done.
Yeah.
We'll all have an early lunch.
Yeah.
But they all came back out, which was good.
Sometimes it's just valuable data. So
yeah, but especially if it was meant to rain for the race as well.
Yeah.
Like I think oftentimes if it's just that day that it's meant to be raining and the forecast for the actual race is just bright sunshine, not a cloud in the sky sort of thing, then why bother? You know, it's like it's valuable data, but not for this year. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, we were expecting every session to be wet, to be honest, at that point, including qualifying.
Like there'd be certain tracks where it could rain like all day Friday and not rain for the rest of the weekend, where the cars will just go out more, even though it does like hardly any data for the teams or anything. I just feel like Silverstone, probably Spa, Monza, all the classic historic tracks that everyone loves. The teams were like, yeah, go on, go in front of the
Send
crowd.
it.
Yep. Perez in the gravel, you fucking idiot.
Not that kind of send it.
This is for the fans.
Oh shit.
Then we had free practice 3. Pierre Gasly lost it in the gravel. Vale. Right in front of me, actually. I was sitting in club for that. I was oh, there's an Alpine.
A Frenchman.
But I couldn't see the number. So which Alpine? Pierre Gasly. His weekend has gone from bad to worse. And it would get even worse.
Yeah.
It was you're starting at the back and now you've binned it in free practice 3. Fuck's sake, Gasly.
It is nice to see a reincarnation of the McLaren Honda, though.
Oh, yeah.
Brutal, but yes.
GP2 engine. GP2.
How long until Alpine give up with their own fucking engine and just buy one from someone else?
But isn't there rumours of that anyway?
I don't know.
There rumours to go.
Audi,
Ferrari.
Ferrari would
what
cost
team
them a
did you
bomb.
say? Ferrari? Surely not.
A French team with an Italian engine. Oof.
It's either that or Red Bull, I think.
As I say, the only way that. So you mean Honda?
No, because it's going to be Red Bull and then it's going to be Ford because Honda's going to go to Aston.
Renault consider quitting as F1 engine supplier to Alpine.
So Renault consider quitting as F1 engine supplier
to their own team. Yeah.
Because Alpine is just Renault with a different badge.
That's kind of embarrassing.
You can buy Alpine editions of Renault cars.
The two major candidates are Honda and Audi for 2026. So
I got the Audi.
They'll have shit engines next year, and then they'll be like, "Do we want to carry this on?" Probably not. Which team gives us cheaper engines? Audi.
Probably Audi, yeah.
Mm.
So,
Although those engines might not be any good.
but exactly, yeah. First year they're in, so
Exactly.
They could be crap or insane.
It's either going to be a rocket ship,
yeah.
Then
or
again,
the Alpine from the start of the season.
Then again, it's also the first year when Audi join. It'll be the first year of the new engine regs, so everyone could be in a pretty similar boat. Audi will admittedly be on the back foot, being a brand new engine supplier, whereas the likes of Mercedes, Ferrari, and Honda have the existing template to build upon. But in terms of the electrical energy deployment, everyone's on a level playing field because of how different that side of things is. It'll just be how well Audi have managed to nail the 1.6 turbo engine. The electrical bit will probably develop quite rapidly across the board for everyone, I'd imagine.
Yeah, that's true.
The existing teams will have a leg up because parts of that technology is already in effect.
Mm-hmm.
But not to the levels, because we're talking about putting like almost as much horsepower from the electrical pack in as the actual combustion engine itself, which is massive and a huge step up from what we've got at the minute. Because at the minute it's like an extra 160 horsepower, something like that, which to be honest is the equivalent of a pretty beefy road car engine in itself. But when you're talking about a Formula 1 car engine putting out like 700-800, it's pales in comparison. Now we're talking about, the electrical energy coming up to that sort of level. You're going to see, it should be some quick cars, but apparently the aero upgrades are going to slow it down again.
Based off the engine, we would hopefully be seeing new lap records set again. Take us back to the 2020 season, 2019-2020, every qualifying lap, new lap record.
Based off the article I saw, though, the aero regs seem to be diminishing that somewhat, and the headline was F1 will be barely faster than F2.
Surely not.
That would be a big yikes if that was true. And that would be hugely embarrassing if F2 was actually faster than F1.
F2 setting the new lap record.
That would be amazing. But I think it'll be a bit of a playoff. I think we'd probably end up somewhere around the same, to be honest.
Yeah.
So
they told us when these regs came in. Yeah, they told us when these regulations came in that the cars would be so much slower. And now, again, they're starting to push toward getting close to lap records again. So, it's Formula One. They will find a way to go fast. Shall we get to qualifying?
Yeah.
Because as I say, not very much else happened in Free Practice 3 to talk about. Apart from, in all the practice sessions, it was either a McLaren or a Mercedes leading the way. It was an early indicator that both cars looked very fast. The Red Bull was never really challenging the top of the timing sheets. I think the best Max finished was third. He never made it to the top two in any session until the race.
Yeah, it kind of solidifies what we said last week about it, that Red Bull no longer look like the fastest car. Mercedes have definitely put a shift in.
As I said, based off this weekend, I would say the Mercedes was the fastest car.
I'd say it's
that might
pretty
be Silverstone
close.
specific.
I'd say it's pretty close between Mercedes and McLaren, but Mercedes are now managing to save face more than currently Ferrari are. because, they've now managed to catch up to one of their customer teams, whereas one of the Haas cars finished ahead of one of the Ferrari cars again this weekend.
Then one of the Haas cars finished in front of both Ferrari cars this weekend.
Which is highly embarrassing for Ferrari.
In fact, where did Sainz finish?
7th, I believe.
Didn't both Haas cars?
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Sainz was 5th.
Okay.
Hülkenberg was 6th. My bad.
But
so, yeah, it was just one.
In your defence, Sainz has lost his drive for Ferrari, so...
True. Charles Leclerc in 14th, 1 lap down.
Yeah, it's because of that intermediate blunder.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, so we came to qualifying. If I remember rightly, it started on inters and then
went dry.
Went to softs midway through Q1.
Yeah, because that's when Perez binned it.
Yeah, but it started to rain again when it went soft. But it was only for a minute or two.
Yeah, that rain didn't last very long at all. So much so that they were on softs for the rest of the session after that. We didn't see the inters again. And yeah, Perez did a Perez and spun at Cops.
As well.
On his outlap, yeah, it wasn't even his push lap. Spun at Cops on the outlap.
What we need is the more you know thing, but we need to change the text to just Perez things.
Yeah. Something that's just dawned on me when we're talking about the rain. Daniel Ricciardo in FP3. I think he's very lucky to only get a reprimand for that weaving in the pit lane incident.
Yeah, that was dumb. Like, highly dumb. What was he doing?
Yeah, like,
because there were people, I could understand it more, okay, if the pit lane was like, if nobody was out in the pit lane, or back in their garages, empty pit lane, fine. I can kind of understand it more. But there were mechanics stood in pit boxes, servicing cars or waiting for cars to come in. No. just no.
It was wild. I couldn't believe what I was watching on the big screens. Didn't Valtteri Bottas get a penalty or a reprimand for his completely accidental spin in Austria a couple of years ago?
Oh yeah, he got a reprimand for that. Because it wasn't completely accidental. He tried something new and fucked it. Gave it a boot full of throttle in a different gear and spun the car. So...
But weaving in the pit lane is very much more deliberate than trying something new and it went wrong.
But at the same time, giving it a bootful is also pretty deliberate.
Yeah.
I know all of the drivers try to put some rubber down in their pit box during practice, but he very much crossed the line on that one. I'd say they're sort of similar in the fact that, there were people in both instances, and you just take more care, do it when there's no people around, sort of thing. But like equally, dodgy conditions. The pit lane is always worse than the track, because there's just less traffic through it to create the dry line. So it's probably slippier.
Even when it is like traffic going through it, it's at very much slower speed, so the tires aren't moving the water anywhere near as much.
And they're getting colder, brakes are getting colder. Like, just fucking don't.
Just wait until you cross that white line.
So, yeah.
Yeah, very lucky. Not to get a grid or something for that, or even a fine.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't get a fine, to be honest. But that's the marshals and the stewards' decision. It's just the stewards' decision. I just came up with the wrong word first.
And also, speaking of the stewards, it came out during the Silverstone weekend. The FIA admitted that Max Verstappen should have received a black and white flag for moving under braking in Austria.
Yeah, but they
Too fucking
always
late
do
now.
this. They always go, "Oh, we should have done this. We should have done that." It doesn't
It
mean
was like
fuck
in
all to a
Singapore when
jam
they came out
tart.
and was like, "Oh yeah, we should have gave Max Verstappen a grid penalty." It's like, well, do it then.
Like
Just do it.
this, because it's so far after the fact. It means fuck all to a jam tart. You know,
Yeah.
it does nothing. It means nothing. Like you're not even saving face. You're just shooting yourself in the foot and making yourself look like a bellend.
Yeah.
I also really enjoy the fact that this race, Max didn't really care about people overtaking him because his car wasn't as good. So he
Yeah.
knew that he was never going to win the race, and people are like, "Oh, Max is actually driving how he should."
Mm.
It was like, no, he just
Appropriate
doesn't
driving
really
standards.
he doesn't really give a shit about losing fourth place. It's like there's a difference between fourth and trying to win the fucking race.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so back to qualifying. We've covered the points off that have just popped into my head from earlier in the weekend. Perez doing Perez things, as we say, getting himself eliminated in Q1 because he binned it. Circuit commentary seemed to be a bit confused. My understanding of the rules is, had Perez somehow scraped through in P15,
Mhm.
that would have been his spot. He wouldn't have been able to participate in Q2 because the marshals would have had to have removed his car from the gravel, therefore outside assistance.
I would
Because
agree
Q2
with that.
is the qualifying
It's the
session.
same session.
Yeah,
It's not separate sessions. It's all one
no.
session, just divided. Plus, if they'd recovered his car, it would have been behind the cops' barriers anyway.
Mm.
So
But Perez stayed in his car for a while, trying to get a push out of the gravel. But even if Perez had
those
then
cars are
got it,
nearly a ton.
Yeah,
Nobody's pushing a beached
Yeah,
car out of the gravel these
he's
days.
just on the radio.
mm,
The tarmac's right there. Someone push me, please. I fucked up.
Too
even
late,
if he
brother.
had have made it, he
And
would
then you
still have been told to
Christian just
leave the
raging.
session.
Fucking hell.
Because he caused the red flag, which I believe you're now not allowed to participate in the rest of the session if you do that.
Well, Max caused a red flag in practice last week in Austria and still participated in the session.
I think it's different from practice and qualifying.
It's
I may
something we
have
need
made
to
that
double
up,
check on.
but yeah.
I think you can no, because Sainz caused a red flag in quali in China, got back to the pits under his own steam,
Yeah.
and was therefore allowed to continue. I think it's literally only if you receive outside assistance that you are no longer allowed to continue. Because Sainz lost his fucking front wing on the exit of the last corner, but managed to get the car going and drove all the way back round.
Wasn't there a protest about that, actually?
Probably, but I think they got told to fuck
Yeah,
off.
I think.
Yeah, they definitely got told to fuck
McLaren.
off, but I think there was a protest.
Was it Aston Martin?
I don't know. I'm going to check, though.
I love it when Chris does this bit.
I remember
the juicy drama.
Joe done it at Canada, I think. It might have been, I think it was last year, where he sort of semi-binned it in quali and then was able to carry on, but where he's stationary, the FIA are like, oh shit, red flag. And then everyone's like, ooh, were they too quick for that red flag?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the other side of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a protest. Well, that's a right of review rather than a protest. So there was a right of review during the... Well, about the sprint. Aha! Decision. Aston Martin protest. It was during qualifying.
It was Aston Martin. Yeah, boy.
Yeah. So, the article of the sporting regulation states any driver whose car stops on the track during the qualifying session will not be permitted to take any further part in that session. What was their reasoning that they let him continue?
His stoppage was only temporary, not a permanent thing.
Yeah, basically they said during the protest that they wanted to add outside assistance to the article, but it hasn't been done. But they felt that the decision was correct, basically, to let him continue because he made it back to the pits under his own steam. As the summarised version, the document's available on the FIA website if you are so inclined. So, yeah, it basically comes down to race control then, whether they think you have stopped on the track. If Perez had have managed to get it out of the gravel, it basically would have been down to race control to say, are we letting you back into the session?
I think Aston Martin's point was that it came up on like their race control
pages,
feed that it said he'd stopped on track, but can we just say like paused on track? Because that's really what it was, wasn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, they were probably quite quick with the red flags for that one. Because he did get going again, so yellows would probably be sufficient, although it was a minute he was stopped for, which is a long time in qualifying.
It also was quite a big hit, so I think they were quite surprised that he got going, to be fair.
Yeah. Let's just change it. If your spin causes a red flag, you're out. Done.
Well, I don't know, because you could spin at Monaco and that would cause a red flag.
Yeah, at that point you've crashed. If you spin at Monaco, you've just crashed.
But did Perez crash into the barrier, or did he just get hit by signs?
He spun and beached it in the gravel.
Yeah, but not in Monaco.
Oh, in Monaco. I thought you were talking about Silverstone. I was like, yeah, he just spun.
No.
There'll be We'll leave that to the boffins at the FIA to decide. Q2, big shock. We lost Charles Leclerc. And who eliminated him? Lancelot Stroll. Poor day at the office for Charles. I don't know if it was just track evolution that caught him out, or...
Well, he was meant to gain a second.
And he didn't.
Yeah. Or, yeah, as I was saying, I don't know if it was just track evolution or if he just couldn't hook the lap up, but out in Q2.
He was just struggling most of the weekend.
Ferrari thing.
Yeah, exactly. And then came Q3. And I thought McLaren's had it after the first runs. If I remember rightly, they came out the fastest in the first runs, or were very close.
But then George done Lando by 600ths.
And then Lewis popped up out of nowhere, put it on provisional pole, only for George Russell to go, "Ha, this is mine," and took pole position and a British 1-2-3. The first time there has been a British 1-2-3 in qualifying since 1968, and the first time ever at the British Grand Prix.
We love it.
The crowds went absolutely wild. Everyone loved it.
Oh, I have to ask, related to the crowd, the pen is coming out. Was there a crowd cheer for Logan Sargent making it to Q2, or was it lost in the melee?
I was lost in the melee.
I thought as much.
No justice
Because if I remember rightly, either one of the Mercs or one of the McLarens had just put it on P1 again. So
that's
it was
what
very.
I thought.
And we were also all a bit more shocked at Perez doing a Perez and getting himself eliminated.
Shocked about that.
What I will say is it was quite funny. There was a huge cheer went up
It was
when it just cut to the shot of a Red Bull in the gravel, and because of the camera angle that they chose to show it again, no one could see the number. And then the graphic popped up. Sergio Perez. He just said, "Oh!" Everyone was, "Oh no, it's the wrong one."
Yeah. Well, Max tried his best in Q3.
He did.
Was it Q2? It was one of them.
I don't think he topped any of the sessions.
No, he didn't.
No, but he went off at Cops, didn't he? It must have been Q2.
No, he went off at Cops in Q1.
Yeah.
And
it was just after Perez.
Yeah, same place.
Mm.
Just showed Perez how it should have been done and didn't spin the fucking car, but just took off an aero
straight. He managed to carry it to like the sort of end bit at Cops where I think there might be concrete right beside the barrier.
Yeah, so it's a bit.
And so he managed to keep it running.
It doesn't look like it's like a full service road, but it's just more solid than the gravel trap. So Max managed, and I think it was the transition between the gravel and that sort of semi-service road. I think that impact is what damaged the underside of his car, because you saw it on the TV broadcast. The leading edge of one of the aero strakes on the floor on the right-hand side of his car had completely snapped off. So obviously that bit missing isn't going to do any good, but the fact that the mechanics were further back in the car, so almost like behind, almost at like the rear wheel and under the car, makes me think that there was a lot more damage that we couldn't see just from standing in front of it. So
to be honest,
he was driving a wounded car at that point, so I think he still did a decent job.
To be honest, though, even with a non-wounded car, I don't think he would have been in the fight for pole.
I think he would have been second or third. I don't think he'd have been much further forward than he was. But
because
we'll never know.
Yeah, the Mercedes and McLarens were just rapid this weekend.
I reckon he could have got Lando in quali.
Yeah, maybe P3. I think P3 was the best that Red Bull was getting. I don't think anyone was touching the Mercedes in Q3.
No.
They were just a step above.
I think that one, that pace, probably the best on the grid currently.
And yeah, the crowd went absolutely insane for that 1, 2, 3. Lapped up every moment. And then the race. Laps to the grid, you could see the transition happening during the pre-race laps to the grid, because they started them on the inters, and then after a couple, everyone switched to softs to actually go out to the grid. Because the Porsche Super Cup race just before it had been red flagged due to the conditions. Wonderful stuff. Thanks, rain. And then we got a dry start. Thank God for that. But you know who didn't get a dry start? Pierre Gasly.
Oh.
Do you know who didn't get any start? Pierre Gasly.
Oh.
I've got to feel for him. It was just a horrendous weekend from start to finish.
Yeah.
Came out just at the start that he'd be starting at the back of the grid. Okay, fair enough. Power unit penalties happen. If you're going to take it at any circuit, Silverstone's probably a good one to take it. There's a lot of opportunity to make your way back through.
Unless you're Perez.
Unless you're Perez. And then he didn't get that opportunity because of a gearbox failure on the formation lap.
Bummer.
Yeah.
But, it is what it is.
Exactly.
speaking of penalties, I can't remember if I covered this or not, but Max Verstappen has used each engine in his allocation already, his ICE allocation. So Max Verstappen is potentially facing grid penalties in the future.
We hadn't covered that, but
I think it
well
came out
noticed.
last week that he'd used all of them. Now, obviously, that doesn't mean that if he does another engine swap, he's guaranteed to get a penalty, because he could put an old one back in.
Yeah.
And just use the least worn engine sort of thing. But seeing as we're only halfway through the season and he has already used up all 3, it would be fair to assume he's going to take at least one engine penalty.
It's, where he broke down in Australia, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, good point. That's a lost engine there, isn't it? So he's probably only got 2 in the pool. So yeah, he's probably going to take an engine penalty sometime, I'd say in the next 4 to 5 races.
Yeah, they keep saying Spa again. So.
I was going to say, yeah, where are we off to? He won't take it in Hungary. Hungary is
impossible.
Far too dangerous a target to take it. You would just get stuck.
Yeah, so I reckon it.
Then we're in Belgium, the Netherlands, Italy.
He won't take it at the Netherlands. That's his home race. So he'd probably take it before then, so he's got fresh power units.
Yeah, either Belgium or Italy, I think.
I think Belgium's looking good.
I think Belgium's the banker, because they've done it before there, haven't they? So.
Then we've got Azerbaijan, Singapore, Texas, Mexico, Brazil, Vegas, Qatar, Abu Dhabi.
So it could be a second one.
So, yeah, Perez sent to the pit lane for changing parts in Parc Fermé. For those of you confused as to why Max Verstappen got to change his floor and keep P4.
Same spec.
Same spec available at the circuit. If it wasn't the same spec, he too would have been shipped off to the pit lane.
Yeah, that's what I was saying to people at work. They were like, do you reckon it'll be alright? I was like, well, it depends what parts they've got. Because if it's like for like, then you can just submit a request to the FIA to swap out damaged components, and they give the okay for that, and you start where you qualify. They have no issue with that if it's damaged and it's exactly the same. As long as you can prove that thing, then they green light everything pretty much. But as soon as you change components, it's outside of Parc Fermé, so you get booted to the pit lane. So that's what I had to try and tell people at work, because they were like, oh, is he going to be all right? And it's like, yeah, it'll be fine if they've got part. If not, then it's a race that he can just throw away, and they probably would have taken engine penalties at that point.
Yeah, if they knew he was going to the pit lane, they would probably just have slapped a new power unit in it as well.
Yeah, it's one of those ones like in the F1 game where if you know you're starting at the back, you just plus 60 places. I'll have every new component, please.
Yeah, that's basically what they've done with Perez. They were like, well, he's qualified 19th. We'll take a new power unit, please.
He's qualified 19th, and Gasly's in the pit lane anyway. He's last on the grid. Everything new. Let's go. So.
Oh, well, no, Gasly would have been behind Perez. He was due to start from the back of the grid.
Oh, was he? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Only went into the pits because his gearbox was broke.
Busted.
Yeah. Lap 1, everyone kept it relatively clean, with the exception of Alex Albon, who nearly took out his teammate.
Whoopsies.
Yeah, I think he tapped Alonso, which sent him sideways into Sargent, which actually helped him because that helped him straighten up the car. Thankfully, not any major damage, but that could have been real bad. While we're talking about Williams, thoughts on the livery?
Just didn't really look any different, really, did it? Like, from the broadcast, it wasn't that drastically different from what the standard is, that it popped out that much. So
I liked it, to be fair. And I think in a good touch, they had Frank Williams' name on the side of the car as well.
You got to respect the heritage.
And then the race sort of settled down for a few laps. But I was out to say we kept hearing. I didn't. You guys would have kept hearing radio messages about rain coming in. I could just see a very ominous cloud hovering over Club. I was like, that's going to arrive soon. And reading on the subtitles, because I couldn't hear circuit commentary, that the radio messages were mentioning rain. And when it eventually did arrive, it rained. It rained a lot.
Wow. It didn't start. To start off with, it was just rain. And then it rained.
Yeah. Because I remember, I think one of the first places that it rained was down the Wellington Straight.
It felt for the whole weekend, the rain just come from the Sir Lewis Strait, and that was it. It was just that straight constantly, just fucking rain over there, and that's it. That's all the rain you'll get is on that straight.
Believe me, that's not true.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think one of the first places the rain fell, at least that I noticed, was, as I say, the Wellington Straight. Because I remember watching the cars go down there, and all of a sudden their rain lights started like blinking, and I seen no one's DRS opening. And then I spotted the Marshall post with just the raindrops on it. I'm like, here we go.
And so it begins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then eventually made it to Beckett's as well. But thankfully it wasn't blowing into the grandstand this time.
Yeah, it's the ones, one, I think it was Lando went off. It was their first time through Maggotts Beckett's, and you could just see the spray just fucking flying up. Just on normal dry tyres, fucking hell.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the kind of conditions that you're like, yeah, I can't do this.
Yeah.
You see it in dries and you think, yeah, I could give it a fair whack. I'd be way off the pace, but I'd give it a fair whack. And then you see dry tyres, wet conditions, Maggotts and Beckett's. No, thank you. I would be dead.
And then you see both Lewis and George
take the same line,
down, just both off at Abbey.
Yeah.
Well, this corner is now 50 metres wider.
There was people around me being like, "Oh, they've got to pit. I'm like, "No, the rain is to stop. That would be bad." As we've seen by the fact that Sergio Perez, Charles Leclerc, and I think a couple others came in for inters, and then were swiftly lapped.
It's really weird to think part of an F1 race it was just to fucking survive, just stay on the track.
That's literally what
Netflix rubbing their hands with Drive to Survive. The self-titled episode is coming.
Just Silverstone. That is quite literally what it became, was just Drive to Survive.
Yeah.
Because no one could stay on the circuit. Lando went off, both Mercedes off, which gave Lando the race lead.
Is Piastri. I didn't see him go off.
No, he didn't actually.
The worst fucking conditions.
Yeah. Piastri kept it on the track the whole time.
I saw him go deep into a couple of corners, but I didn't see him go off.
Yeah, but he didn't go
I don't think he ever crossed the white lines.
I saw him go deep into... Shit, what's turn 3?
Village.
I saw him go deep into Village. But
yeah, the first hard braking zone is Village.
Yeah.
Turn 2 is Farm.
Yeah, so they went through Abbey and Farm, come up to Village, and he went deep. Like, very deep. But still made the corner. So...
Yeah. I don't think Max went off either, actually, during the race.
I don't know if we saw him at that point, because they were focused on the lead.
Yeah.
Have you seen him have I'd say battle with Sainz? It was just Sainz being like a constant second behind him.
Yeah, Sainz could never close in. He was being willed on by all of the supporters at Silverstone, but he couldn't quite do it.
So...
Because Piastri was very much adopted for the weekend. especially during the race.
Yeah.
When he made that overtake on Max again, the track went wild.
Do you know what that is? It's because
on Max.
It's because it's in the little top left corner of his flag is a small version of our flag.
And also the fact that he drove a McLaren and was overtaking Max Verstappen.
Yeah. Also good components.
Yeah. But where are we in the race? Yes, the rain then stopped, and everyone that was on Inters was like, haha, we done fucked up and pit again. And then
it's
the rain
fucking
came back.
Ocon. So the I don't know if you know this, Chris, but the rain obviously stopped, and Perez was like, "Oh, we fucked up." Ocon pit back onto dries, and in 4 laps, I think he gained about 40 seconds. I think Ted said, or like 20, something ridiculous. Like he gained his whole
know
pit
that,
stop
but Jesus.
Yeah, because Ocon and Zhou, at a certain point when drivers had made just the one pit stop to go into Inters, Ocon and Zhou had made 3 pit stops.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that, actually.
Because the graphic came up and it was like ones for most of the field, then like Perez and Leclerc on, and a couple of others on 2, and then just at the bottom, Ocon and Zhou, 3. And they was just like, oh yeah, everyone's made their first round of pit stops now, except for Leclerc and Perez, who've went early onto the Inters. And then and it's just, they didn't explain Ocon and Zhou at all. They just kind of left it there. It's like,
yeah,
3? We're halfway through the race in 3?
Yeah.
This is more than we see in a normal race.
Which really meant by the end they made 4 as well. Because, yeah, as I said, the rain arrived. And so everyone had to go to Inters. I think that lasted maybe about 15 laps or so.
Okay, we need to discuss strategy.
Okay, let us discuss strategy.
I am of the opinion McLaren fucked it.
They did indeed.
I am of the opinion that Oscar slowing down and costing himself 5 seconds on that lap and still maybe being caught for a couple of seconds in the pit box would have been quicker than him continuing for another lap.
Yeah,
McLaren should have double stacked.
Also,
in the way that Mercedes did.
I think Oscar sort of got outdone of the race victory with that.
Yeah.
Because I felt like he was quicker than Lando throughout the race.
Yeah.
He definitely had pace, but he just got dumped down to 6th because of that one lap.
Yeah, to be fair, on my last tweet of the weekend, I shared it in a group chat that and a couple of people said exactly the same. Incredible race, good strategies, good calls, except for McLaren, who ruined a little bit of Lando's race, but definitely Oscar's. Thanks, Elsa. And Jamie was like, if McLaren didn't fuck Piastri first, he could have won. Then they fucked it up with Lando, not putting him on fresh mediums. Also true.
Yeah, that cost it. I'd say that only cost him 2nd, but because Lewis was on the softs, it probably could have cost him the win.
Yeah. Also, McLaren have had arguably the quickest car over the last 7 races and only won 1. McLaren need to be more proactive on strategy and less reactive.
Yeah. I think they also just need to be... Part of it is because they've not been fighting at the front for a long time. So that decisiveness isn't there. Because Will Joseph came over the radio to ask Lando, what tyres do you want? And Lando was just like, fucking any slicks, mate. Just any slicks. And so they put him on softs, which, on paper, fine. Damp conditions, soft tyres, probably best. But length of race remaining was always going to put the softs at risk.
I think when they boxed back onto the softs, there was about 12 laps to go.
still quite a
Yeah,
long.
it was
Silverstone is a
lap-
very high
I think
high
it was
energy
50.
circuit.
It was lap 37, 38, and 52.
And also, what I don't know about in the broadcast, but what wasn't picked up all that well in commentary in the circuit, and I only noticed because I had the live timing open on my phone. Both Lewis and Lando boxed onto a scrub set.
Yeah,
Neither of them were fresh tyres.
Whereas Lando had a brand new set of mediums available, which I think would have won him the race.
Yeah, the only thing out of it, I'd say, it still shows there's a level to Verstappen and Lewis that Lando's still just.
There's a level to Lando, yeah, but there's also a level to the strategy team because Hannah Schmidt displays it week in, week out. You know, they took Max from a kind of languishing just outside the podium to charging through, and had the race been 3 or 4, maybe 5 laps longer, would have been right up the arse, if not just overtaking Lewis. You know, that was the right call, and she made it. Well, the team made it. I don't know if it was her specifically, but, you know, she's head of strategy, so I guess she gets the final say. But, you know, they made that correct decision to put Max on not the soft compound of tyres.
Yeah. So at the end of the race, Lewis's tyres were 14 laps old and Norris's were 13.
So they'd probably only done like 1 or 2 laps. It was probably a quali set, but at the same time, you've already taken the best out of them.
Yeah, exactly, especially if they're a quali set.
Yeah. So
Piastri done 14 laps on fresh mediums and Max done 14 laps on fresh hards.
And Piastri's pace, when he's banging in fastest laps pretty consistently over those last like 12 laps, shows you that they should have put Lando on the mediums.
Yeah.
Because if he was going at that pace, he would have caught Lewis.
Yeah, Piastri's best lap was a 1:28.7. Lewis's was a 1:29.4.
And Lando was what? At one point, he was 2 seconds behind.
Yeah, Lando's best lap of the race was a 1:29.2.
Yeah, it should have been mediums.
Yeah.
McLaren need to learn from this.
Sainz in a 1:28.2 out of nowhere. Late
He
pit stop.
boxed on
2
the
laps on soft, so yeah,
yeah.
I've just seen that.
He boxed on the penultimate lap before the fastest lap.
Again, something that just wasn't picked up for obvious reasons.
Yeah, it was briefly mentioned on com. So
I don't think anyone noticed in the circuit because he was nowhere near Piastri anyway.
He had a free pit stop ahead of Hulkenberg. It was, I think he had 27 seconds when he came in.
Yeah, he still finished 8 seconds ahead of Hulkenberg and 34 seconds back on Piastri.
Yeah. So
near enough 35.
He wasn't catching Piastri in that one lap, and he wasn't at risk of losing the position, so they just went, have an extra point, son. And fair enough.
Yeah. What we haven't touched on, heartbreak for George Russell.
Yes. Water pressure failure?
Yeah, a suspected water systems issue was all we got in the track.
That's all we really got on broadcast. I don't know. I haven't watched Ted's notebook, so I don't know if they had any more confirmation of anything. But because they normally Ted gets some scoop from someone because he seems to have the phone number of everybody in the bloody paddock. But yeah, no, over commentary it was suspected water systems leak / pressure failure, which fair enough, retire the car before it causes too much damage.
Exactly.
It's either retire the car and, you know, save yourself a bit, or push on and car goes bang and you've lost components from your pool.
Exactly.
So it's the right decision, but it's going to hurt. And it means that George still hasn't got a podium at his home race.
Yeah. In a weekend that a podium, if not the race win, was absolutely on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he, at minimum, you'd expect him to finish third there.
Yeah. Probably second.
Well, yeah, given the decisions the strategy made, but yes.
Yeah. Because, again, in the dry, those two cars just drove off into the distance. they were gone, especially in that first stint.
So yeah, it's just one of those things. It's unfortunate, but there's nothing George can really do but take it on the chin and come back next year. So
Exactly.
I don't doubt that he will win Silverstone eventually. It's just one of those things. How many years does it have to be that he's in a sort of a top running car that he doesn't get on the podium that we start to call it a curse?
Good question.
Because like the first 3 years you can kind of discount because he's in a Williams, but now he's in a Mercedes, and he's still not finished on the podium.
To be fair though,
last year was Zhou crash incident.
Yeah.
And this year
that was 2 years ago.
Oh, was it? What was last year then?
Fifth. He got fifth.
Oh, he just finished.
Last year was just the Mercedes still being a bit of a bus.
Yeah. So 3 years of Mercedes and no podium. That's
but now that the Mercedes is less of a bus,
you'd expect them to be good next year.
Yeah.
So
unless they somehow come out at the start of next season and have created another bus.
Exactly. How many years? What, 22, 23 was the same? We get midway through, this car starts to come forward. You think, oh, hello.
But it was never winning races.
But it's one race.
One race. It won Brazil.
Oh yeah. For that.
So
should have won Singapore.
Should have, but he went for the gap in Singapore Airlines. I love that edit so much. There's no longer gap. He went for it. It's the fact that he hit it so perfectly. Just
yeah. And yeah, end of the race. It's just
I gotta say,
Lewis Hamilton's moment. Yeah.
The only thing that mildly annoyed me about Lewis winning that race was that he now moved clear of Michael Schumacher on the record of most wins at a circuit.
And himself.
Yeah, like that's why I say when he moved clear of him, like they were tied, and I was happy that it was tied because that's like two of the greatest drivers ever sharing a record, and now it's just Lewis's.
Yeah, I think he also has Schumacher fan at Hungary.
Oh god, he could do it again.
Yeah, he could. He could tie himself with 9.
If I'm right, Schumacher did it at France, Magny-Cours.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah.
So.
But yeah, I'm sure Lewis has 8 at Hungary as well.
Yeah, but he also, he extended his own records. He's broken new records. He's broken the stat that I thought had ruled him out of ever winning another race again, which was every driver that has appeared in more than 300 races has never won a race after appearing in 300 races. So I was ready to just be like, he's never winning another race. But here we are.
He's also the driver with the longest run from his first race win to his last.
Is his most recent.
Yeah, his latest.
Yeah. Watch Alonso just come barnstorming through at Hungary and then just hold up the entire field for the race.
Yeah.
Alonso just blow that record out of the water by like... That'd be... So Lewis's is 17
Canada
years...
2007 to...
So 17 years, 1 month, they said it was.
Yeah.
So Alonso's would be at least 2-3 years longer than that, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, when did Alonso win the World Championship?
2005, 2006.
Yeah,
I don't know if that was his first
years.
win, because I think he might have won a race before.
His first win was 2003.
There you go.
There you go, be 21 years.
Just blow out Lewis's record by 4 years, easy.
I'm pretty sure it was Hungary 2003.
But
yes,
yeah, it was just very good. It was a very good moment to be a part of.
One more podium, and he hits 200.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, I feel like before the weekend, Chris, if you had to like write down what happened during the race, it'd be pretty close to what you would have written. So
I will come to this, but yeah, I was the only person out of all of us to say Hamilton to win the race. Just saying.
Yeah,
Just saying.
you weren't the only person out of every prediction we got to put Hamilton on the podium, though. So,
but the only one to say him to win.
Yeah, true.
We may as well just get to that. Actually, just beforehand, I don't know how it came up on my social media, but I ended up on Sky Sports Italy's, like Sky Sports F1 Italy, and the Italian commentary for the last lap is unreal.
I swear,
It's
Italians and Latin American football commentators. Wait, no, the Spanish commentary for Le Mans was hilarious. They would because it was like the 4 hours of safety car period. They were just singing on the commentary.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Love it. Yeah. So okay, 9 wins at Silverstone.
Mm-hmm.
Surely we've got to give him, coming from someone who isn't a fan of Lewis that much. Okay, surely we've got to give him the title of the King of Silverstone.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He has unbelievable form around this circuit.
Yeah. That was the fact that it was Silverstone was the only reason I put him to win the race.
Yeah.
Like
it
that,
makes sense.
I'm pretty sure that was my justification last week. It was like it's Silverstone.
Yeah, it's hometown hero.
And if Ferrari get their act together, there's nothing stopping them going for 10 next year.
True.
And that would be a wild start. 10 race wins at one circuit.
But
you say if Ferrari get their act together, I think you're asking quite a lot there.
That's a good point.
Well, no, because the thing is with Ferrari is they also seem like the opposite to Mercedes, where they come out the blocks sprinting and then just slowly fall off.
Ferrari come out of the block sprinting in the 110-meter hurdles and then stumble over the first hurdle and have face planted the floor and are just sliding along the tarmac for the rest of the race.
It just depends if Lewis can carry them to keep jumping over hurdles.
Or at the very least just running through them and saying sod it.
It's where Lewis will see the plan for the past 4 years, just win Monaco and that's it. That's the sole plan. Win Monaco and Monza.
Put everything into Monaco. Contact all spiritual assistants.
Just on the Drivers' Championship, before we go into our predictions, Lewis Hamilton is now 8 points behind Sergio Perez. George Russell is 7 points behind Sergio Perez.
Yeah, that would change after Hungary.
Perez could about come 8th in the World Drivers' Championship.
Could.
In what was, at the start of the year, the fastest car.
Yeah. 8th.
Yeah, do you remember at the start of the year when we were all shitting ourselves over it being 2023 again?
It's gonna be the Max Verstappen year.
Yeah.
How long we've been.
How fucking grateful I am for it.
Yeah. Somehow the two Aston Martins were in the top 10.
Ollie Behrman's still in 11th?
14th
now. 14th, okay. He's still there.
However, can we just... Logan Sargent is not in last.
Who's last?
Logan Sargent is 20th.
Who's 21st? Who has... Joe?
Who's not?
Valtteri Bottas.
Damn it, I was the right car, but the wrong side of the garage.
Yes. And Nico Hulkenberg's only a point behind Lance Stroll. Nico Hulkenberg could be about to enter the top 10.
Nico Hulkenberg's been fucking carrying.
Yeah, Hulkenberg's got 22 points. Magnussen's got 5. Definitely
To be fair
carrying.
to Kevin has sacrificed himself to get Hulkenberg points. So
That's true. And there's only one team on 0.
It's Kick.
That's Kick Sauber. Williams have got 4, Alpine 9, Haas 27, RB 31, Aston Martin 68, Mercedes 221, McLaren 295, Ferrari 302, and Red Bull 373. The good news is Max Verstappen wouldn't lead the World Constructors' Championship on his own.
It's much better than last year.
Yeah.
We are at the halfway point now, though, so...
We are.
Double everything, and that's about where it is. But it's really not. We need to take like a first 6 form and a last 6 form, and then see the change. I might do that for next week, if I have time and I'm bored enough, which I probably will be. It's the summer holidays. I have no tennis.
Shall we get into predictions?
Absolutely.
Richard, take it away.
Unsurprisingly, Nia scored 0 points this week in podium predictions. Alex Albon did not win the British Grand Prix, and neither did Stroll or Sargent on the podium. Next lowest score was actually Sonia, who only scored 2 points. Verstappen and Norris on the podium in the wrong spots. Tied for second, myself and Ben, both for... Well, we had the same predictions, so...
Get on.
Well, except for pole, but neither of us got pole. Nobody got pole. But yeah, Norris in the wrong position, Verstappen in the right position, 4 points. And leading the way and gutted about it is Chris, who only got 5 points, even though he had every driver correct. Hamilton in the right place, Norris and Verstappen the wrong way round. A womp womp. Socials.
Lethargy strategy team costing me. Pricks.
Socials, Hallie got 4 points for the same as me and Ben, Norris in the wrong place and Verstappen in the right place. And Nova got 5 points for Norris in the right place and Hamilton and Verstappen the wrong way around. So that takes Nova up to 6, Hallie up to 31. Nia remains on 43 and drops down to last of the hosts. Chris, you're up to 46, moving up 1. I'm on 60 points, still in third. Sonia is now down in second on 63, and Ben moves 2 points clear on 65.
Those 15 points would be so useful.
They would have been. You would have been on 56 points.
As you got just 15. 4 points behind you.
Well, actually, if the two drivers were the other way round... No, I would have still got the same amount of points. No, yeah, fair. You would have still been 4 points behind. I was going to see if it changed my results and it would have actually put you in any closer of mine. But nope, Verstappen second would have been the one. Right, crowd cheer in Q2 for Logan Sargent making it. No. Gutted then.
Can't give you that, unfortunately.
Chris, you said more than 3 DNFs. There were not.
There was only 2.
Yeah. Nia said Sargent gets the fastest lap point. He
did not.
That is a no. And I said an instant free race between Norris and Verstappen, which it was. I'll take that. Lap down showdown. Chris, you stated it was Zhou on lap 21.
That is correct.
He finished 2 laps down in the end, so you still win this week. By virtue of the fact that you had the correct driver and were closest on the laps, but nobody got the correct number of laps down. We all only said 1. I don't think we anticipated the weather taking quite an impact.
No.
Or the Kick Sauber pit strategy.
Mainly the Kick Sauber pit strategy.
Perez bingo time.
Yes.
Jingle, please.
Oh, okay.
Thanks.
Hey, Sergio. Welcome to Red Bull.
Never gets old.
Amazingly, Nia was actually closest on qualifying. Perez qualified 19th, and Nia said 20th.
If I remember rightly, I think we were going to put him 19th as well, and then changed it.
And then Nia was also closest on the race, but because she didn't get the exact positions, nobody wins.
What did Nia say for the race again?
20th, and Perez finished 17th. So, to be fair, he was kind of safe from finishing 20th thanks to Gasly. So,
yeah.
But
actually, yeah, that's something. See, if we say he was to finish 20th and we had retirees and he finished like last of the pack, would we give them that because he finished last or no?
No, it's not the right number. Not taking it. Yeah, that's all of our predictions for this week. We'll be back next week for putting in our Hungary predictions.
Yeah.
Monaco without the walls.
Support series.
Yes, I have my pages open and ready to roll.
Lovely. Formula 3 should have been first, but wasn't because rain. Lots and lots of rain. There were thunderstorms over the circuit overnight. I'm so sorry for anyone who's camping. And so the race got postponed to 6 p.m, which then became very difficult to follow because what did Silverstone do? There's cars on track. You're at a motorsport event. So let's split the screen in half, shrink both screens, and try and show the football as well.
Yeah.
And it just turned out that you couldn't really watch either because both were incredibly hard to make out.
There was Lewis and George were in the fan zone watching it on
watching the penalty shootout. Yeah.
That was kind of cool. I like that. Right, we'll start with F2. Qualifying. Isaac Hadjar qualified on pole position ahead of Victor Martins and Dennis Hauger. Again, we'll cover Formula 2 and Formula 3 in more detail during the summer break. We're just trying to keep you roughly abreast of everything that's going on until we can actually have the time to do a deep dive into it. Yeah. So again, Hadjar ahead of Martins and ahead of Hauger. Sprint race. The Mercedes prodigal son of Kimi Antonelli won ahead of Zane Maloney and Kush Maini. And the feature race was Hadjar ahead of Zane Maloney and Jack Crawford. That takes...
Just on that sprint race, that was an amazing drive from Antonelli. He absolutely... He looked like a professional, especially in those conditions. It was quite funny. Toto came out, I think, the day before saying basically you have to swim. And then he won in very wet conditions.
He won by 8.6 seconds.
Yeah, and he had a few safety car restarts and stuff to handle and handled them. And a red flag restart as well. And handled them completely professionally. It was a very good drive.
It means, however, after those results, we've got some changes in the top three. I think we've got pretty much a totally different top three. Actually, no, Paul Aron's still there. Isaac Hadjar now leads the way on 133 points. Paul Aron drops to second on 117. Zane Maloney is in third on 101. As for the teams, Campos Racing leads the way on 171. MP Motorsport are in second on 158, and Invicta Racing are in third on 156. As for Formula 3, qualifying, Luke Browning put it on pole ahead of Esterson and Megatunov. Sprint race results, Lindblad finished first ahead of Leon and Zagazeta. And the feature race results, Lindblad won ahead of Mini and Voisin?
Voisin won on the road, but had
penalty.
It taken off him for leaving the track and gaining an advantage on lap 1.
Oof. That's savage.
And I think what's even more savage is the team didn't tell him until he finished the race.
Wow.
So he crossed the line, took the checkered flag, went mental on the team radio thinking he'd won the race, only to be told, actually, you're third.
Ouch. Surely you'd tell him so he can like try and push towards the end and create a gap.
Yeah, they didn't tell him. To be honest, there was no pushing to create a gap. The race didn't even get the distance. We finished 2 laps early because it timed out.
Ouch. Okay, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
And also, just before you go into the standings,
Mhm.
it's the first time in Formula 3 history that a driver has done the double.
Nice.
And it
Very
was for a
nice.
home driver, Lindblad.
Good
Much
stuff.
to the delight of the British crowd. But yeah, first time in Formula 3 history.
Yeah, that means, well, he's put in a shift and bumped himself up. Gabriele Mini leads the way on 119 points. Lindblad is now in second on 113, just ahead of Browning, who is now on 112. As for the teams, well, Lindblad races for Prema, so you can kind of guess what I'm going to say after the state of last week's play. Prema lead the way on 312 points, with second place ART on 177, and third place Trident on 153. Prema have almost double the points of the next team.
Yeah. We also had Porsche Super Cup this weekend. Larry Tenvorda took pole, which I couldn't have told you during the session as I put it on Twitter. I couldn't read the times. I had just seen the checkered flag and it was done. And then he went on to win the race from Marvin Klein in P2 and Robert De Haan, who's actually a rookie, finished in third. It was also a bit of an interrupted race, a few safety cars. It got red flagged because of the rain. We started behind the safety car. They got to Beckett's. And I've actually got it on recording the moment the red flags came out, because the cars are coming past. You just see the light post in front of me start flashing red. It's like, yeah, that's unsurprising. The rain was torrential during that race. And then they eventually got back underway. Managed to complete the full... No, missed 1 lap, because it wasn't the time plus a lap the way it is in any other race. During the restart, it was 12 laps or a maximum of 27 minutes. And we had a safety car right at the end. Hoped we could get 1 more racing lap, but they ran out of time. So it was a ceremonial crossing of the line to win the race.
Ah, well. Briefly, on the Formula 3 team standings, in order to overtake Prema, you would need to combine the second and third place teams' scores. And even then, you would only be clear by 18 points.
Oh dear.
Prema are smashing it.
They are indeed.
There's
So
not
are they
that many
1, 2,
rounds
3 in the
left.
drivers?
You know what? I just closed the tab and I can't tell you. Let me have a look. Standings. Gabriele Mini, Lindblad and Browning.
No.
They've
Browning.
They're 1 and 2.
And it's Beganovic that is the other Prema driver.
Yeah.
Where's he?
He
4.
is 6th.
6th?
6th.
Jeez. Lindblad and Mini are doing the heavy lifting.
Yeah,
he had a poor weekend this weekend.
He's
Yeah,
on
finished
80
9th.
points. To be fair, Beganovic has scored points every single weekend except this weekend.
Yeah.
And Mini had a pointless weekend in Spain, but Lindblad has scored points every single weekend. His lowest point scoring weekend was Austria last time out, where he scored 6.
Yeah. And this weekend he very nearly took maximum points.
He got 36 points this weekend.
Yeah, I think he didn't take the fastest lap points.
And he didn't get pole position points.
And he didn't get pole. But that's all he missed out on.
So
yeah, Mini took the fastest lap for the sprint. Well, sorry, the feature.
Yeah.
If you want a full rundown of all the results, go to our Twitter. I done a classification thread each day.
Nerd.
So all of the classifications from all of the sessions this weekend are available in nice threads on our Twitter page. So you can go see Friday, Saturday, and Sunday all broken down for you, as well as some explanations on penalties that affected race results. With the exception of Porsche Super Cup, because those guys don't post their stewards documents. You can only get their classifications. And even then, do you know how, like, for Formula One, it's like, 5-second time penalty causing a collision, document number? For Porsche Super Cup, it's just 5-second time penalty, decision number 7. Okay, what was it for? Why has he got a 5-second time penalty?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah.
Shows how little people care about Porsche Super Cup.
Literally.
Do you know what's actually kind of entertaining? I can't lie. When you're at the track, it's pretty fun to watch.
Yeah, the racing's quality, but like, no one gives a shit who wins.
Yeah, or Super Cup. I don't even think it's broadcast.
No, it's not.
I think they used to broadcast the race on Sky, and now they just don't.
I think they decided that the viewership wasn't high enough and just dropped it.
Yeah.
So
let's just show Ted's notebook again.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it. British Grand Prix weekend for another year in the books. I'm sure Richard will have inserted the track outro sequence somewhere in this as well, if he can find a good spot for it.
If not, it'll just be tacked onto the end, and you can suffer it. I actually tacked it onto the start because Chris basically made it just a second intro.
Well, we've got a free week next week, so I'll go more into the experience of Grand Prix attendance and stuff next week. Mainly because it is now 12:10 at night.
Yeah.
We're on to release day. We're usually finished by now. But until then, thank you very much for watching. We will see you next week. Try for now.
Bye.